Welcome back to the operetta. There's a specific kind of hunger that cannot be satisfied by a reservation at a Michelin star restaurant. It isn't the hunger of an empty stomach, it's the hunger of an empty soul. It is the appetite of the asset stripper, the corporate locust who looks at a century of tradition and sees only inefficiency to be trend. They believe that everything in this world, from the land we walk on to the bread we break, is merely a commodity waiting to be optimized. But you and I know better. We know that some recipes have ingredients that don't appear on the label. We know when you try to sanitize the ancient world tends to get indigestion. You've taken your seat at the prep table because you want to see the butcher's bill paid. You want to see what happens when the hand that holds the ledger gets caught in the mixer. So pour your drink, dim the lights. The oven is preheated, the admission price has been paid. I am the head baker, but that title is polite fiction. I'm a zookeeper for a fungal god, and tonight we're trying a new recipe.
There are two kinds of heat in this world. There's the dry, honest heat of a radiator, which simply exists to warm you. Then there's the wet, heavy heat of the ferment. That is a heat that wants something from you. My basement doesn't smell like a bakery. Not down here in the sub-level, beneath the granite foundation and the city sewer lines. It smells of wet limestone, oxidizing copper, and a cloying, yeasty sweetness that sticks to the back of your throat like phlegm. This is the domain of the mother. She lives in a cast iron vat the size of a small sedan, bolted to the floor with rivets that weep rust. She has been bubbling in the dark since the gold rush, a living slurry of flour, water, and wild airborne biology that predates the invention of the zipper. It was a Tuesday. My left index finger was wrapped in fresh gauze. The mother requires a tithe to keep the pH balanced, a drop of iron to feed the rise. I was scraping the overflow from the rim, a thick beige mucus that pulls slowly against my knife when I heard it. Not the elevator, but the vat.
Gluck, Cessasin Urgi.
It wasn't a bubble. It was a mimicry. The mother was practicing. The elevator chime dinged, a cheerful digital chirrup that had no business in a room that sounded like a stomach. Jason Bitters stepped out like he was disembarking from a yacht. He was a man comprised entirely of sharp angles and expensive fabrics, a navy suit that cost more than my annual flour budget, and shoes so polished they reflected the damp grime of the floor like black mirrors. He was the new private equity fixer. He didn't smell like a person. He smelled like ozone, sandalwood, and a fresh dry cleaning bag. He wrinkled his nose instantly.
Good God, Elena. It smells like a wet dog in a sauna down here.
That's the culture, Mr. Bitters, I said, not looking up from the iron vat. The yeast is active today. Barometric pressure is dropping. Bitters tapped a stylus against his tablet.
It's inefficient. That's what it is. I've been looking at the scaling projections. We're opening 10 new locations in the tri-state area by Q3. We need liquidity. We need flow.
Behind me, the vat gurgled.
Liquidated, yeah.
Bitters stepped closer, eyeing the vat with the disdain of a man who thinks history is just something you bulldoze to build a condo.
This medieval science project? It's a variable I can't control. I've signed a contract for commercial instant yeast. Standardized rise time, uniform crumb structure, no feeding, no maintenance, and certainly no...
He gestured at the vat.
Swamp monsters.
He stepped into the circle of yellow light cast by the single bulb.
I need this tank drained and scrubbed by end of day. The scrappers are coming for the iron tomorrow.
The basement went quiet. Even the distant hum of the compressor seemed to hold its breath. You want to drain it? I asked, my voice low.
I want to flush it.
Bitters corrected, checking his reflection in his watch face, a Swiss piece that ticked louder than his heart.
It's a biohazard. Look at the oxidation on these bolts. It's unsanitary.
I stepped between him and the wheel. Mr. Bitters, you don't understand. This isn't just dough. It's a colony. It's a closed ecosystem that has been fed for 150 years. It remembers things. Bitters leaned over the iron rim, shining his phone's flashlight into the gloom. He squinted.
There's debris in here. Is that a cufflink?
The dough swirled. It wasn't a cufflink. It was a gold tooth, floating to the surface like a dead fish before being sucked back down into the beige deep. A souvenir from the baker of 1923. Just minerals, sir, I said, part of the enrichment process. Bitters recoiled, wiping his hand on his suit.
That is exactly what I'm talking about. I am not here to debate microbiology with a baker. I am here to optimize assets. Now, are you going to open the valve, or am I going to fire you for insubordination and open it myself?
I looked at the heavy iron wheel. It was slick with condensation. I looked at Bitters, standing just 3 feet from the intake breach. He was standing on the drain grate, the perfect kill zone. You're firing me if I don't?
Effective immediately.
He smirked.
Consider it a restructuring.
As you wish, I said, but I'm going to stand by the door. I gripped the cold iron. I didn't use the pressure release valve. I went straight for the main breech clamp. I spun it hard to the left. The metal screamed a high-pitched shriek of rust yielding to force.
Finally.
Bitters muttered.
Let's get some liquidity in here.
The lid didn't lift up. It was punched open from the inside. It wasn't a splash. Liquid splashes. This was a surge. A massive, cohesive wave of pale beige matter erupted from the tank. It moved with terrifying speed. Not like water, but like a muscle flexing. It hit Bitters in the chest with the wet, heavy impact of a sandbag. The sound was cut off instantly. The mother didn't just knock him down. She adhered to him. The dough was thick, viscous, and warm. It wrapped around his expensive suit, gluing his arms to his sides. He fell backward onto the concrete, his heels skidding uselessly in the slime.
This is assault!
He sputtered, kicking wildly, his voice cracking.
I'll have this facility condemned.
It's not assault, Mr. Bitters, I whispered, leaning against the doorframe. It's a merger. You wanted total integration? You're about to become the key asset. Then came the kneading. The mother began to proof. She expanded, bubbling and rising, tightening her grip. The pile of dough on the floor pulsed rhythmically. The sound was sharp, like a dry branch snapping in a winter forest. That was his clavicle. Thorne thrashed, a muffled, frantic swimming motion beneath the surface. But the worst part wasn't the crushing weight. It was the invasion. The dough didn't just cover his mouth. It pressed into his ears. It filled the nose. I saw the panic in his eyes shift from fear of pain to fear of the void as the world went mute. He was screaming, but the sound was being proofed, absorbed into the culture, dying in his throat before it could reach the air. His ribs gave way. I saw the shape of him change beneath the dough. He was being compressed, folded, structured. The frantic thrashing turned into a twitch, and then a slow, defeated shudder. The wet sucking sounds of the dough settling filled the room, a grotesque parody of a stomach digesting a meal. The mother held him there for a long moment, absorbing the heat, the protein, the expensive cologne. And then, defying gravity, the mass began to retreat. With a slurping, sliding sound, the dough pulled itself back up the side of the tank. It dragged the bundle that used to be Jason Bitters with it. One Italian leather shoe fell off, hitting the floor with a lonely clack. The rest of him slid into the dark maw of the iron vat.
Bloop, hiss, up dash to dash mighty head.
The floor was surprisingly clean. The mother leaves no crumb behind. I walked over, picked up the shoe, and tossed it into the incinerator chute. Then, I spun the wheel, locking the breech tight. Titration complete, I whispered. The next morning, the bakery was busier than I had ever seen it. The line wrapped around the corner, stretching down the block past the dry cleaners. People were waiting 40 minutes in the cold rain, just to get in. I stood by the front window, watching them. I held a fresh loaf of the sourdough in my hands. It was heavier than usual. The crust was a deep, rich mahogany, cracking perfectly as it cooled. The smell coming off it was intoxicating, savory, deep, and with a faint, undeniable richness that triggered something primal in the lizard brain of every customer walking by. I watched a businessman in a gray suit buy the first loaf. He tore off a chunk right there on the sidewalk and shoved it into his mouth. He chewed, his eyes closing in ecstasy. Then, something shifted. He swallowed. He straightened his tie. His posture stiffened, becoming straighter, sharper. He checked his watch with a sneer of impatience he didn't have 5 seconds ago. He looked at the homeless man on the corner with sudden, cold indifference, and marched down the street like he owned the pavement.
Excuse me.
A woman at the counter asked, brushing crumbs from her lip.
This batch, it's incredible. What did you change? It tastes so rich.
I smiled, adjusting the bandage on my finger. Oh, nothing much, I said. Management just decided to really pour themselves into the work. I looked down at the basement door. I could hear the faint, satisfied bubbling from below. Bitters made for a cheap starter, but my God, did he give the bread an expensive finish.
The balance sheet is corrected. The variable has been integrated. Efficiency is a dangerous god to worship because it demands that you remove everything that makes life messy. But life is messy. Biology is messy. And when you try to sterilize the dark, wet corners of the world, you often find the darkness is hungry and it prefers its meals to be rich, arrogant, and wrapped in Italian silk. But don't think you're just a customer looking through the glass. That's the comforting lie you tell yourself to keep your appetite. You see, a story like this is a lot like the sourdough starter. By listening, you've let the culture into your head. You've swallowed the narrative. Do you feel it? This light heaviness in the gut? It's not the bread, it's the realization you've enjoyed the meal. You're part of the food chain now. If you want to keep the oven door closed for another week, if you want to keep the thing in the basement dormant, you know the ritual. Leave a like and subscribe. It's a small offering to the algorithm. A little bit of digital yeast to keep the beast fed so it doesn't come looking for a more substantial protein source. The hunger is satisfied for now. Until the next rise. Try to sleep well. I'll be down in the kitchen